This will give you an unfair advantage over everybody else in your reality. When it comes to manifestation and creating large amounts of money into your life and success, abundance, and happiness, this is going to set everything apart. This is going to give you an unfair advantage over everybody else. And it all begins with understanding what's happening within the inner world, within you, that's creating your reality. I'm going to explain that to you in a masterclass right here for free, where a lot of people pay a lot of money for this, but I'm going to explain it all to you in this video for free. And I'm also going to get into an exercise that's going to assist you and solve all of your problems with every visualization concern you've ever had. If you tried to visualize before and you haven't been able to do it, I'm going to give you a method. I'm going to cover that in this video to where you will be able to visualize now. And it's going to be something that you've never knew about before. And you're going to realize it when I tell you about this. You're going to be like, oh my God, that was my problem the whole time. So let's get into it. First off, I want to explain the fundamentals, because when you understand the fundamentals of how you are creating your reality and where it's all rooted from, where it's stemming from, is from your self-concept. Okay, that's the fundamental level. Okay, where's your state of consciousness? And from your state of consciousness, there is an inner dialogue that goes on within this invisible state of consciousness. Okay, and it's constantly saying different things within your mind. It's like a river. Okay. Imagine a river right now that's flowing one way. You cannot stop this river, okay? The only thing you can do is redirect the current. Either it's going to be in a mindset of abundance or a mindset of lack and desperation, but that you cannot stop this current. And it's kind of similar to you cannot stop your thoughts, okay? You cannot help but to always be thinking about something, and that is your inner dialogue, but it's all based on your state of consciousness. And from this current or this inner dialogue, it's creating mental images in your mind. Okay, this is the process of creation. I'm breaking all this down for you right now, which you're probably not going to hear this from anyone else this specific and explaining it this way. Okay, so you have your inner dialogue from your state of consciousness. Okay, and from that inner dialogue, whether it's saying I am rich or I am successful or I am in desperation or whatever your fundamental concept of self is, that's where the inner dialogue is going, and then your imagination is creating pictures in your mind. Okay, in your mind is creating mental images and mental pictures, mental movies that you may not even be conscious of if you're not present enough to even know they're happening within your mind. Okay, so this is a sequence that happens: inner dialogue, imagination, and then from imagination, when you're picturing these things from the inner dialogue, then comes the feeling state. Okay, the secret of feeling. Feeling is the secret. And then from those feeling states that are generated from the mental images, because imagination creates reality, okay, it's stemming from imagination, the feeling states that are created from those imaginal pictures that are happening in your mind, whether they're picturing you in the future in debt or being extremely successful, counting money, or you're getting more money coming to you, however you redesign your concept of yourself, that's what's ultimately being created in your world. But the feeling state itself is generated from the imaginal creation in your own imagination, from the inner dialogue. And from the feeling state is then generated, that feeling is then impressed into the subconscious mind of everything you consent to being true, because your fundamental concept of yourself is based on everything that you consent to being true of the simulation. All right, so this then, the feeling state is then generated back into the subconscious mind, and then it is pushed out into the simulation, and then it recreates this holographic world that's actually coming from within your self-concept. And it's like a circle. It's like a generator. It just keeps generating this world based on your concept of yourself, everything you consent to being true, and then it comes from your inner dialogue that's always flowing, always moving. You can only redirect it. You can't stop it. From the inner dialogue, pictures, imaginal pictures are being created that are associated with whatever you're internally saying to yourself. And then from those imaginal pictures are creating feeling states that are also associated with that from what you've experienced before within the simulation. A powerful feeling state of you being successful, you being in debt, you having a great relationship, or you're making all this money, whatever it is, whatever your fundamental concept of self is. That's what's being generated as a feeling state, and then generated back into the subconscious mind, then pushed out into your reality for tomorrow, next week, and next month. And what Neville Goddard was teaching was how to change your fundamental concept of yourself, right? because that's what's creating everything. Everything you consent to being true is your fundamental concept of yourself. And then that goes from your inner dialogue into the imaginal pictures you're creating, and then the feeling states, and then it keeps this circle. So if you stay in the same self-concept, you don't change your concept of yourself, then your world has to stay exactly the same, because it's really just a mirror reflecting back what's going on within you, your self-concept. But what Neville Goddard was teaching was you can do certain things as you go to sleep at night. You can visualize or you can feel something different, because that's part of the generator. That's where it's accumulating its energy to be able to create your world for tomorrow, because it's all being created from within you. But what Neville Goddard was teaching was you can visualize, which I'm going to teach you how to do this, probably something you never heard before. You can visualize as you're going to sleep at night and lay in an odd position, a position you normally wouldn't sleep in, and you focus and you create this imaginal movie in your mind where you're experiencing something in the future, but it's happening to you right now. And what this does, when you land it correctly, when you can actually visualize correctly, this changes everything you consent to being true. All right. So when you're visualizing yourself being somebody that's now successful and rich and is a multimillionaire and has a successful business, a successful relationship, everything's working out for you perfectly, and you felt that to be real, what happens? You change everything that you consent to being true about your world, and that changes your fundamental concept of self. And then what happens? Your inner dialogue changes. Now it's not saying I'm living in lack, I'm in desperation. It's saying I am rich, I am successful, everything works out for me. And then from those, that new self-talk is creating these images of you driving your dream car, living in your dream house. Your relationship is perfect, everything's going well, you're traveling the world. You're bungee jumping, you're skiing, you're snowboarding, you're on Big Bear Mountain. You know, you're doing all these, so your imagination is working all this stuff out. That's closely correlated to your inner dialogue, the flowing river. Remember that we can't stop, but it's creating these mental images that are associated with whatever that self-talk is. And then from those mental images that are being created in your mind, whether that's conscious or unconscious, is then creating feeling states that are associated with that. Then the feeling state is then generated this energy, okay? This energy then gets repositioned, or it circles back into the subconscious when you fall asleep at night. And then the subconscious feels and consents to everything that you feel and consent to being true as you're falling asleep at night. And then it pushes all that onto your reality. Then you have this holographic, high-tech simulated game that you experience based on that. So generally, this is how everything is created. And I wanted to break that down. But the main part of this video is how to visualize correctly, how to use Neville Goddard's teachings, how to visualize people, and what's happening where people are failing with their visualizations, and what's going to set you apart from everybody else is to take this into consideration. When you visualize, when you're creating from the event in the first person, and you're creating a scene from the future and you're bringing it to you right now. You're not going anywhere to get it. It's happening to you right now, okay? But you're not, when you have created this whole scene and you've already outlined everything and you're ready to visualize, okay? You create the scene. You do not visualize from your eyes. And your eyes are part of the simulation. Okay, your eyes are part of the physical realm, not the invisible world where everything is created. When you visualize, do take your focus off of your eyeballs. You are not seeing anything from the physical space. This is all spiritual. This is internal. It's the invisible world. That's where everything is created. You push it back into the back of your head, in your mind. Your imagination is coming from your mind. It's not coming from the simulation. None of this is real. And when you visualize seeing out of your eyes, usually you're just going to see black, and you think you have aphantasia, and you can't feel the event as real as you need to for the subconscious to be impressed with this visualization. So when you're visualizing from your eyes, you're pushing it away from you. You feel like you have to go get something. You're going to the future, and you're reaching for something that's far away from you. That's not what you're doing. Creation is finished. You're only manifesting different portions of what's already created. So your visualization is from the event. It's happening to you in the present moment, and your attention is designed and focused on this event happening to you inside the spiritual realm in the back of your mind. So get your eyes out of the equation. When you're counting money, you're doing this within your own mind. You're not doing it from your eyes. Do not try to see your visualization from your eyes. It's coming from within you, in your own mind. Picture it in the back of your mind or somewhere in your head, here in this realm, even though it's not even there, okay? It's not in your brain, it's in your mind. It's behind your brain. It's the invisible world. Remember, there is no physical world. It's just a mirror from what's happening within you and pushing itself out. This is just a reflection of the inner world. There is no external world. The real world is the internal world. That's where the visualization needs to come from. That's what separates you from people that can't visualize and think they can visualize. And what people say, this doesn't work, is because they're not doing it correctly. All of this stuff, everything I outlined for you in this video is exactly how the creation process works from the internal level. You are living in a simulation right now, and everything is being created from what you consent to being true in your fundamental concept of self. It's like if you were to say an affirmation right now, say, I am successful. What are you imagining from that affirmation? Is that part of your fundamental concept of self? I am a multimillionaire, even though you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're in debt. What are you actually picturing? Have you noticed consciously what because remember, imagination creates reality. So if you say, I am a millionaire, and your imagination is picturing you sitting on a park bench or sleeping on a park bench and you're homeless, do you see that? Do you know what's happening? When you're affirming something, it's not necessarily creating, why I say that is because it's not necessarily creating the imaginal picture that you think it is. You could say, I am a millionaire, but it's picturing you in poverty. It's picturing you with lack because that's your fundamental concept of yourself. But if you skip all that and you go right to the visual picture, you skip the inner dialogue. All of that is skipped. You're skipping the middleman process. You're going right to the visualization. And what happens when you visualize from an event in the present moment as if it's already happened to you? It creates a very powerful energy feeling state that is then impressed into the subconscious mind and then pushed out into the external world or the mirror for it to produce your future and your reality for tomorrow, next week, next year when you meet someone named Ashmagash. It's all being created from your imagination and the feeling. Remember, feeling is the secret. The acceptance of the end generated into the subconscious reprograms what you consent to being true, and then all of that is pushed out, okay? And then you experience a different holographic world. There's an infinite amount of different holographic worlds that you can be living in because there's an infinite amount of different states of consciousness that you could also live in. But it's a mirror. It's a mirror of what's happening within you. But you have the privilege of changing this at any time, especially understanding everything that I just explained to you. I know it could be kind of technical and it can be kind of confusing, but go back and rewatch this if you need to a few times to understand this process. I have lived this. I have experienced this. This is exactly how creation happens. It's everything, okay? And if you can master this ability, you have control of the direction of your attention, you understand how to visualize, and you can be very present, and you know you're living in a simulation by understanding and experiencing things being created from within you this way. You're going to have an unfair advantage against all the other versions of yourself within consciousness, within the simulation, because don't confuse yourself with this. Don't lie to yourself. Everyone within your simulation is another version of you. There's an infinite amount of versions of everyone within the simulation. Because remember, consciousness is only one energy, okay? But in order for God or consciousness to create a simulation, what did it have to do in order to multiply? It had to divide itself into two. But it's really an illusion of a dual-natured consciousness. It's just a dual nature. It's actually just one entity. It's God and one consciousness. And the simulation created an invisible disconnect, so everything appears that it's separate when actually everything is interconnected and it's only one. But the dual nature of consciousness had to divide in order to multiply. So you have hot, you have cold, you have male, you have female, you have the laws of polarity, and everything that goes along with that. But remember, with this information that I just gave you, if you understand this and you apply it, you're going to have an unfair advantage against every other version of you within the simulation. You're going to be light years ahead of everyone being able to create things and pass people by within business, within everything that you want to create within your reality, if you truly understand this. If you need to watch it again to understand the breakdown of this, and with visualization, visualizing from the back of your head and not of your eyes, and understanding the dynamics and the breakdown between concepts of self, fundamental concepts of self, and inner dialogue, and how that's flowing into the imagination and creating mental images. And from those mental images are creating feeling states and energy that's then being impressed and generated back into the subconscious mind and then pushed out, because consciousness itself is dual natured, but it's an illusion of a dual nature, which is a conscious part and a subconscious part. You are in control of that conscious part. So right now you have the privilege of changing everything by simply tricking yourself to believe that you already have something that you haven't quite got yet, and convincing yourself and tricking yourself of that. And then the subconscious mind, you don't have to trick it to do anything. If you believe it, that's all you have to do, is trick and believe and consent to being true, something different of your world. Trick yourself to believe that you have everything that you want right now, and then fall asleep. Subconscious is impersonal and non-selective. It just knows what you feel it to be true of your world, and then it reproduces that within your simulation. All right, guys, I love you, and I'm going to post a video. I'm going to post a video on the screen for you. It's a sleep meditation. It's also going to help you get into the feelings of your wish fulfilled. But if you really want to take it to the next level, you can also visualize while you listen to these sleep meditations, because they have alpha, theta, and delta waves. These brain waves will also induce a state akin to sleep. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.